All right, it's podcast number 2. Welcome to Being Humanist.
That's what we're calling it.
That's what we're calling it. I am Lee.
I'm Paul.
And we have a special guest with us this evening as we're doing our second recording. It's evening this time, but that doesn't mean anything to you because you can listen to this whenever you want to. And with us tonight, our special guest is James. So, last week we basically talked about it was our origins show. It was basically how we got to the point where we were. It was the beginning, where we are, how we got to where we are from where we were. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Have anything to add to that, Paul?
About the first show?
Yeah.
It was pretty awkward. I felt like it sucked the entire time until after we actually sat down and listened to it, and it wasn't that bad.
I like that. It was mediocre. Thanks, guys. I'm glad to help you.
Oh my God. It's like, oh, it was amazing. It was phenomenal.
No.
No, it wasn't.
We're not going to do the Statler and Waldorf. It's okay, though.
But
I'll live this time.
But really, I mean, honestly, it wasn't that bad.
No, I think after we put it together and I put it up online, I was like, wow, we actually sound kind of professional. This is impressive.
Yeah. There were a couple of things I said that I could have worded much more efficiently. I was stammering at points, so maybe a little. Why would I be nervous? Like, nobody's even fucking listening to this yet. It's just us talking. We have 0 subscribers.
Putting your beliefs and your thoughts out there, that can be a big plunge. True. I mean, especially if you feel like the normal people don't agree with you and you feel like you're a minority. It's always hard to be a minority.
Right. Okay. Hey, good point, James.
I should put a random note out there that today I screwed up and didn't bring all the gear with me that I needed so that 3 people could talk easily. Nah. So I have a handheld microphone that I'm taking between myself and James.
He's taking it between himself and James.
So occasionally I will sound distant and James will sound close.
Hi, how you doing?
Or James will sound distant and I will sound close. So deal with it.
Yeah.
Hey,
assholes.
You guys got an origin. Okay, James in his nutshell. James was raised by a very loving mom and grandma and grandpa. My grandmother I am a faithful Christian. If I had to pick a denomination, I would say Pentecostal, but not really denominational. All I know is that God loves me, and what I'm supposed to do is to be a good Christian is love everyone. I believe that Jesus died on the cross for my sins. That being said, I don't believe every single word of the Bible. I'm paranoid, and I don't trust that it was not edited to make the church more rich or to make people more powerful. Mm-hmm. I love God, and I love you.
So
we love you too, James.
Now you know that we've brought a believer with us.
But this guy's no fundy. Let's put it that way.
No fundy?
A fundamentalist. You've never heard of fundy?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Get with the times, man. Get with the lingo. If we're going to be doing a humanist podcast here, you got to get with the lingo.
He's not a hipster. Mike's not a hipster. He doesn't know all these cool terms.
Oh. What's that? What are you saying about me?
All I'm saying is that I like your tight sweater and your scarf.
Well, I don't have either of those things on right now. What are you talking about?
Just being dumb. In fact, you have nothing on right now, and I like it.
This is true. I actually have the mic clipped to my balls.
This episode so far is way much more fun.
Anyway, yeah. So,
where are we starting at this time? I mean,
well, we're kind of winging it just like last time. I swear, one of these days I'm going to write an outline here before the show, but that's probably making a lot of noise. But
I can definitely hear it.
I've got a pretty interesting thing going right here this is a story I noticed today. In California, a high school elected a 16-year-old transgendered girl as its 2013 homecoming queen. Cassidy Lynn Campbell is her name. Of course, this is kind of a big deal. It may have never happened ever in the history of the United States. It's definitely a first for California. And of course, there's some outrage regarding this girl winning, because she's obviously not a biological woman, but she identifies herself as a woman. Actually, there was a couple of comments on the story I was reading that made me a little sick. I'm going to go ahead and read one of them right now.
Okay.
Okay. I'll withhold a name, just to be fair. But this wonderful woman said, "Not a girl, never will be a girl. Doesn't matter how he dresses, acts, or feels. It doesn't matter what he cuts off or mutilates to become a girl. He just did it to look like one. Still doesn't make him one. He is a male until he's dead. He will have been born a male 10,000 years from now. Can't change it. Just another case of I feel something, so I need to act on it." Now, am I wrong, or did that sound ignorant?
It really does. Just from somebody who, I might not have a degree, but I'm fairly good educated. Fairly well educated.
I read pretty good.
I read pretty good. But sex and gender are two very different things, and they are both not 1-0 on and off.
Mm-hmm.
They are both on this sliding scale from 1 to 10. That's the reason that throughout the century of the at least United States, we're like, oh, we can't tell if it's a boy or a girl. We'll cut this off. It's a girl. Look, it sticks out more than normal. It's a boy. And they've raised biological girls, and like some of the crazy fundamentalists like to use the thing that they had a boy that he was I can't even talk. Sorry. He was
Hey, it's all right, man.
genetically a male, but they turned him into a female at birth. And the dude basically went insane. And he found this out during his formative years that, hey, I'm really a guy, so all these awkward feelings that I have are sort of natural for me to have. Mm-hmm. But he was taught, you're a girl, you wear dresses, you do this, you do this, you do this. Well, even nowadays, we see that girls can ride big trucks. We see that girls can do construction. And that's a great thing. And the whole sex and gender thing, again, everything's on a sliding scale. There are people that have both a vagina and a penis. You can't...
It's true.
It's there. And there are guys that feel like girls and girls that feel like guys. You can't get around it.
Now, how does this make you feel coming from your Christian perspective? Obviously, I mean, you said you don't believe everything the Bible says. Is the homosexuality thing one of those things that you don't buy?
See, the homosexuality thing I sort of look at differently. If you look at the Bible, one of the reasons that it's the most cited thing is because it's the most researched thing. Mm-hmm. There are literally like people out there that believe that Judas was trying to get Jesus when he betrayed him. And they use betrayed in air quotes, and because they think he was just basically tired of Jesus waiting to save everybody, and wanted to basically be like, Jesus, get off your lazy ass! They're gonna kill if you don't take care of this. And it was part of God's plan that that's how he died. Mm-hmm. That being said, there are also researchers that think that when they say a man shall not lay with a man, it was looking at the big Roman and Greek trend of older men having sex with younger boys.
Yes, and that really did happen. That's not something...
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
And there are some people who believe, and that was what that was going towards.
Not two consenting adults, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That being said,
one way to spin it.
I can't vouch for that. And the whole, the Catholic Church being whole and owning all the land, all the towns, all the stuff, they needed men and women to make little kids so they could go out and work the fields. Mm-hmm. Is it a combination of column A, column B? I don't know. I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
Okay, so you part of the whole, you think in Leviticus
Leviticus is that's a very damning to homosexuals.
Part of what you're saying is that
Well, not damning
you think that they made that rule so that they would have kids. They would force people to make sure that they could reproduce. But the other part of The other part of it was what? And just a short response.
They want people to work the fields, and they don't want pedophiles. Pederast? I was trying to say
Pederast,
pederast.
yeah, that's
Pederast. They don't.
So you're saying, okay, so
Don't
the,
molest
the whole
kids.
two reasons the whole two
Exactly.
reasons for no gay in the Bible is so there were no pedophilia happening, and they wanted to make sure people were reproducing so they could work the fields.
Basically.
Interesting perspective. I've never heard that one before.
No, that's all right. Everybody has their.
He always throws a good one at me.
Now, what we should do here.
Okay, do we need to finish? I mean, this story. This is a person who had they had a sex change and they became. Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
we should
Oh.
kind of. Let's get back to that.
Yeah.
Because of the question.
Ah,
The question for me was, how do I deal with that as a Christian?
Okay.
If that is a Christian lady that is doing that, she's doing Christianity wrong. She's looking at old Levitican law, and that means if she has her period, we shouldn't talk to her or see her for a week, and she has to bathe in holy water. Also, that's old school, Old Testament law. Jesus came, he changed everything. That is what Christianity is about. It's Jesus tearing the veil between God and man, making God man and the sacrificial lamb.
well, let me ask you.
And my
this.
job is to love everybody.
Why did Jesus say in Matthew 5:17, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but fulfill." And then in 5:18 he continues, "For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth passes, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled." A lot of people interpret that as he's actually saying that the law of the prophets, which is the Old Testament, should not be stricken down. I mean, and there's not actually that I know of a specific verse where he actually says don't pay attention to the Talmudic law.
That being said, very good point. I don't trust that part of the Bible.
Okay.
Where I don't trust the whole Bible, if the Catholic Church did change something in the Bible, I only
Which
blame
is
them
totally possible.
because I only blame them because they've had control of it since for how long? Thousands and thousands of years.
Well, they'll tell you since Peter. I mean, that's
It's since the beginning.
yeah. 'Cause the rock
If
that
they
Jesus built his church upon.
just how at the very end of the Bible it says, "Don't take a word, otherwise your name will be taken from the list of life." Don't add a word, otherwise your list would be added to the list of plagues.
right.
They're going to put in there, "Hey, follow this to every detail, no matter what it says." That plus, the Bible has a lot of conflicting things in it. God is a jealous God, but God is love. Love is not jealous.
Okay. But the only way that you would have the notion that Jesus died on the cross for our sins would come from that book. I mean, and that book was written. I mean, it was written from word of mouth about 100 years after the events, is what they say. I mean, well, if you date it, it's going to be about 100 years after the events. But that book is kind of the foundation of the entire religion of Christianity. Like, if you discount so much of it, how do you know that part of it's true?
To me, the book isn't the focus.
Yeah.
The book is the.
It isn't. It shouldn't be, I guess, if you're going to be spiritual and if you're going to be a loving spiritual type person. But that's the problem, is people are making it the focus. They're almost worshiping the book,
Well,
which is
and
not a nice
that's
look.
what that's the problem that Jesus had with the Pharisees.
Mm-hmm.
That they weren't doing what their spirit needed to do, but they wanted to make sure that they were unclean. And so when somebody died, they would hire somebody to come and move the dead body because that was unclean. You weren't supposed to touch a dead body. But then when they touched the dead body after they were paid to, they were the dregs of society.
Yeah.
The book is a beautiful piece of art.
I
But
agree.
what-
I've been reading it lately. Well, I've read it all the way through once, but I'm doing a reread right now, and it's Genesis is like, it reads really well. It's fun to read. It really is.
It's now, don't get me wrong, numbers and stuff can be just horrible to try to get through because all it goes through is the counting and the 12
The begats and
yeah. But it's the message, and the message that is linked to that, and from what I've experienced, the part of my growing up with my grandma and my grandpa taking me to church every Sunday, my grandma was one of those Christians that her relationship with God made God stronger somehow, because people would see how almost saintly my grandmother was. Like adopting 2 or 3 kids because they had hard times. And just being like, it was amazing. And the stuff that I saw done in God's name, can I say that for 100% with scientific certainty that I've done tests and God, as I know God, the Father of Jesus exists? No, I can't. But that's why it's called faith.
Yeah.
And do I have 100% faith? Yes. And it's just from what I've seen. I've seen, like, lady is supposed to go in for a miracle. It's a miracle. So the next day she's supposed to go and get a cancerous thing removed off her knee. I am literally 7 or 8 years old. I watched this thing disappear. Gone. Never to be seen again.
Right.
Like, I have felt like I left God for a minute. I'm trying to find my back to where I can talk to God. Because when I was younger, I felt God's presence. And that to me, as the humanist, I know there are drugs that can induce this type of thing. But when you're in a church and it induces it and the power of God, I can feel that. That changes my life. And I am trying to be a better Christian every day.
Okay.
Okay, we never really got back to the story, but before
I know. It's tough.
okay, I had to take the microphone from James because it's when people get into you've seen a miracle, you've seen you think that God cured somebody of cancer, but why would they choose that person as opposed to another person?
God works in mysterious ways.
I don't accept it.
I think that's an intellectual cop-out.
That's why it's faith. I can't explain.
Faith is an intellectual cop-out in itself, I think.
I think not believing anything takes more faith than anything.
How so? It's not that I don't believe it; it's that I haven't had enough evidence presented to me to say yes, I believe that. It's just until someone can present that.
We have been on this planet just as long as any other species. What makes our frontal lobe develop when others can't? What makes us be the ones that come up with speech, internet, all this crazy stuff? What makes us special? We should be competing with dolphins for the control of the seabeds because they're just as smart as us.
Mm-hmm.
What makes us take that step in evolution and nothing else does? And all this like chemical soup that's holding around and just the right ions bump into other right ions. Like random chance happens and we're made.
Right, but we don't have any kind of proof for the origin of life at this point. Now, evolution doesn't actually try to explain the origin of life. That's abiogenesis. Evolution just explains the diversity of life on Earth and why we have so many different species and how they came to be. And there is an explanation for humans emerging as the conscious beings that we are, the cognitive beings, the more intelligent beings, and a lot of it has to do with I'm going to learn a lot more about this because I'm going to school for biology right now, but a lot of it has to do with proteins. I'll get, I wasn't prepared for this conversation, but there's also walking upright had something to do with it. It allowed us to have the bigger brains, but we should do an evolution episode sometime when I'm more prepared. That would be fun.
I agree.
But dude, it's cool. I don't disrespect what you're saying at all. I'm just
saying those proteins and those walking upright things, we're not the only things that walk upright. Why don't like I said, why don't dolphins or whoever's the smartest animal in the ocean, why don't they get those proteins?
I don't know. Do you deny evolution?
No.
Okay.
I believe that we were created because I just don't know how. Okay. I don't know if God chose, because the Bible is the creation myth is just that, the creation myth. And if you ever read Ishmael, it's a creation myth. We don't know. We have to come up with our own guess. Okay. And the whole I don't know if in the Bible a day is 24 hours like the Bible literalists believe, or if a day is eons. Mm-hmm. And if God created man and blah, 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 if he created man from just poof right there, like poof, tree, poof, you're a tiger.
Yeah.
I don't know because I wasn't there.
Right.
But I do have faith that God created it and this is his plan.
Okay. Well, All right, let's really try to get back to that transgender story, and then
yeah.
we'll come back to that. I'm sure we'll get into this again.
We are 19 minutes into it. We started that off with the first 4 minutes, and we haven't really finished the story.
So let's since it's been a while, I'll go ahead and just recap one more time on that. There was a student, a 16-year-old student, a transgender girl, at a California high school, who was elected homecoming queen, and we read a comment that was very, very negative. What do you think about that, there, Lee?
About the comment in general?
Let's not. No. Well, first let's.
Or
say
just
what
about the whole
what
deal.
Do you think? What I think it's beautiful. I think it's showing this younger generation right now. There is something about this generation that they are so much more socially conscious than I remember past generations being. Like I will say right now, our generation was not as socially conscious as this one. This younger generation. Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to school to be an elementary teacher, and when I was in the classes, I remember when I grew up, even going to the poor schools where I was a minority and there was mostly black and Latino students.
Mm-hmm.
Black kids were together, Latino kids were together, and the white kids were together.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, this was like literally almost a decade ago that I was in these schools teaching these 6th to 8th graders. And I didn't see, like, don't get me wrong, there was the hip hop group, and a lot of the black or whatever kids would fall into that. But it was, they liked the same music, or they liked the same art, or whatever. And that, to me, was just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Dead silence.
Right. Well, I was kind of wanting to get your thoughts on that.
I have to agree, and it's actually somewhat goes to what James was saying. There can be situations where there's affirmative action stuff, right? Where they're trying to get minority kids involved, like you're doing publications or marketing and whatnot, and there's certain populations of groups, different races and whatnot, and there are people who want to have those under notarized. What do I want to say? Basically the groups who are not the minorities.
Mm-hmm.
They want more minorities in these publications, but then you run the risk of showing something that's not true by saying that there's a lot of this race there when there's actually not. So you run into those risks. Well, I had to do a project not long ago where I asked a minority student how they felt at this university. And her response was that, it's not even, we don't even look at things like that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
This is a woman who was under 23, I would say 21, 22 possibly. And it's more about, it's at this particular university, it's about family. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows who each other are. And there is not an issue of, we don't look at color the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess to what you're saying, yes, I think that people are more understanding. This younger generation, it's gotten to a point where I think the more that you are subjected, if that's the word, the more that you have interactions with people who are different than you,
right,
the more you start to understand rather than fear.
Yeah.
And when you realize that these people are just like you and me, I think that things begin to change. And not only that, but obviously you have those who are in older generations who are dying off, so things eventually start to change. So I think it's really cool that at 23 minutes,
yeah,
that a transgender person, someone who went as being a male to a female, was elected prom queen by their fellow peers. I think that's a really cool story. Do you know whether or not the school was very large, very small? Because to me, if it's a smaller school, people might know who they are more.
I will try to find that out. I don't. The story I got. The story I should say probably it's linked from the Raw story, which is a gold mine for news. Crazy. A lot of it's Raw story is kind of into the exposing the crazy side of the right, but also there's some uplifting stories that appeal to people that are more on the left, like myself and yourself, and even you, James, seem to be a little on the left. You're definitely left of center. I mean,
About that, like
it's socially, let's say.
my personal beliefs are very conservative. If I were to be in a relationship with someone and accidentally get them pregnant when I didn't mean to, I would try my best to keep the kid.
Okay.
That being
that's
said,
that's your personal
yeah,
thing
and
too.
I bet that mean I don't try to force my opinions on people. And I think that if you do, that's horrible. Because you and I don't believe you are a couple of my best friends,
Right.
and we don't
And
believe
we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah, we don't believe in the same deities. And how can I force my personal? Well, it's how can I force my faith onto you? That'd be like you guys trying to force your
Right.
faith onto me, or whatever you want to call it.
We don't have faith.
It's a
We
faith,
have
like
faith in
I said.
humans.
I think that no faith takes more faith than regular faith.
But that's where I keep coming back to that. No faith, all it is just saying you haven't presented a good enough case to me, so I don't believe it yet. It doesn't take any faith to hold that position.
Well,
We're
see-
just looking at it from the logical point
Yeah.
of view.
Are we going atheist here or agnostic? Because agnostic, though, I believe there could be something out there that's bigger than me.
I don't think there are very many 100% atheistic. Atheist does not actually mean I know there is no God. It means I don't believe there is a God. It's a huge difference. To say you know that's an ignorant statement. To say I know there is no God, completely ignorant. But so far, I have not been compelled. And I'm an ex-believer, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was raised in a Christian home.
Bible thumping, too.
Yes, and I know all of the feelings that you're referring to, and I mean, I've experienced that. And I thought that God took the cancer out of my grandpa. He had lymphoma, and which seemed to miraculously disappear. And then that was great, and I sincerely believed that God reached His hand into my grandfather's life and pulled that cancer out of him, and he may, and I am at least have enough. I'm not so proud that I can't say maybe He did. Maybe there was something that intervened. But also, I mean, then my grandpa dies in a routine surgery a year later. It's just, I think that there's a lot of chance in things.
Oh, yeah.
But we're getting off track again. God.
It's you guys.
I think we kind of completed it as it was. I mean, I think in regards to transgender and the fact that they were voted prom queen, yes, I mean, the question was whether.
Don't you almost feel bad like picking on a Christian like James though? Like he's not the problem. He's not the guy that we're fighting. He's not the guy that's trying to reach his hand into the. But you know that I have a feeling about that. But
the thing is, like the Christians that you're trying to fight, that I believe are doing Christianity wrong, they won't come here and talk to you. They want to be in their close knit security blanket where everybody believes the same as they do, and that is like right before. I don't know what chapter in Bible. I'm not good with my verses, and I'm not good with things. It is said that Jesus, right before his, like a month before his execution, went and took his disciples on basically like a graduation speech.
Okay.
He went to a pagan city in the middle of a pagan sex god ceremony. So, ridiculous group orgies, gay sex, animal sex, every act that you could ever pitch in that was sex was going on in front of this mountain with all these caves. Jesus tells the disciples, "This is where you are needed most." And the Christians that are not willing to go to the bars at 3 o'clock in the morning and try to help those who are like, I'd give a drunk ride home if I could. Like I have. It's not my job to help those who need it, but if I can, I should.
Yeah.
And the people who need the help are who you need to help the most. And so the people that are well off and do at your little Christian thing that are all make ridiculous amounts of money, and they're going to help raise a fundraiser for the kids, girls. They're not the ones that you should be donating all your time with. It should be those who need it.
Okay. Yeah. Did you have something there, Lee?
Nothing right now in particular.
Well, what I was going to say, going back to feeling a little bit bad, because like I said, Christians like James, who we often refer to as liberal Christians,
right.
are not the problem. But you do know that I hold a certain opinion.
Yes.
That liberal Christians do still kind of contribute to the problem. I have a huge, long thing about that I'm not going to read.
Oh, yeah.
We actually may make a video out of that, right? At some point.
I was going to say, I was going to talk to you about that earlier. But yeah.
And maybe since I brought that up, I should give you the short of that at some point in our discussion. But I think for now, maybe we should move on to a different topic. What do you think?
Yeah, we can totally move on to a different topic. And even though it's probably been beat like a dead horse, there was an interesting thing that happened last weekend.
Okay.
Miss America.
Yes. The Indian American Miss America that was accused of being an Arab terrorist, a Muslim extremist. Colbert had a great thing on that where he lost his shit on the Colbert Report. He's basically showing a picture of her in a bikini, and he said 700 and odd, some people, however many it was, on Twitter saw a beautiful woman in a bikini and immediately thought, Muslim extremist. And then he just could not keep it together after that.
So are you aware of this, James?
I have heard about it, and my Comedy Central newscaster of choice is Jon Stewart.
Oh, I love
And
Jon Stewart.
He pointed out that one of the Twitters, and it was like, due to the fact that she is an American, she couldn't get it. But the guy misspelled do and put D-O instead of D-O-D-U-E.
That was amazing.
I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's stunning.
I'm with you, Stu. Colbert's great. Colbert's hilarious, but Stewart is a fucking icon. I mean, and John Oliver did a great job filling in for him, by the way.
He did very good. I don't watch TV, but I watch internet TV.
Yeah, okay.
And I watch the Daily Show three-fourths of the time.
You're calling me a hipster?
I don't have a TV. I watch my TV on the internet.
I don't think there's a hipster in this room.
I don't know.
Well, whatever.
We probably all have our qualities.
I think maybe there's a hipster quality in everybody. I think
I want to do a crappy joke just because I can.
They'll make me lose my spot.
Do you know why the hipster burnt his mouth on his macaroni and cheese?
Why?
He ate it before it was cool.
Oh, boo.
Very nice, very nice.
Okay, the reason why I brought up the Miss America pageant, and like I say, it's been beaten like a dead horse, I think, all week, but there's this part of me that's still frustrated. I think as a humanist, you see something like this where this woman is an American. Mm-hmm. And when I say American, I want to say this woman is
born and raised in New York,
a nationalized, a citizen of the United States, born in the United States, and she was Indian, of Indian descent. Her parents were immigrants, and people are freaking out about it. The Twitter feed, the internet went nuts, and you all of a sudden saw a racist America. Maybe you want to say a ignorant America, but it's just the kind of thing that bothers me, that too many people are watching Fox News, if you want to say Fox News.
Fox Entertainment News.
Basically, maybe I should say the media that, for whatever reasons, tends to separate us, and we don't. I think as a whole,
MSNBC is just as bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a whole, I think these stations have a really good tendency of making us choose sides.
It's totally polarizing.
And I think that when you think about it, you have family and friends who tend to watch the different show than you do, and then you're mad at each other because they watch a different show. And you kind of forget to sit down and have a conversation with each other and realize, we got a lot in common. Maybe we should just have a conversation as opposed to letting other people tell us how to think.
Exactly.
This whole immigration thing, I think it kind of relates to this, but I'm getting annoyed with the idea that people are forgetting how this country was formed.
On the backs of immigrants.
It's like,
We stole.
let's not forget that we stole,
stole
this
the country.
from
We
its
were all
some
immigrants. Every single one. If you are not a Native American on a reservation that we gave back to you, air quotes gave, you are an immigrant, or the
Yes.
child of an immigrant.
Absolutely. And people refuse to acknowledge this. They'll
If you don't
Denial
like it,
of- it's a
you
fact.
can get out.
Yeah, get out. But dude, I have a few of the tweets up actually from the Twitter responses. If you'd like to hear maybe a
Go
few
for
of
it.
those.
Let's do it.
Okay, we got this one from. I am gonna read names on this one. Pookie. Pookie at Granville_Colt, and the Arab wins Miss America. Classic.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Okay. I got Jake Amick at Jake Amick 5. How the fuck does a foreigner win Miss America? She is a Arab. Hashtag idiots.
The most appropriate hashtag I've ever seen in my life.
She is a Arab.
She is Arab.
We got Logan Van Voorhees at LR Van VOO6741. Feel free to fucking bomb these guys on Twitter. On Twitter, not in real life. I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not.
Not. We're not. We are not. We are humanists.
Okay, but this douchebag says Miss Arab wins Miss America, and the score of the Seattle-San Francisco game is 5-0 at the half. What is life? Oh, he thought he was really just making a great joke there, didn't he?
I'm sure.
I've made way worse jokes, but they've not been on Twitter. They've been with my friends who know I'm joking.
Ah.
It's so that could be just a guy who doesn't know the social etiquette of the internet.
I'm going to say that I think there are tendencies. I think some people make jokes on Twitter and whatnot, and they think. Yeah, I don't think it's malicious intended, but
Let's review his. Let's see if we think his is. Miss Arab wins Miss America, and the score to the Seattle-San Francisco game is 5-0 at the half. What is life?
Okay, that was definitely an asshole.
No, Miss Arab. That's where he went wrong.
He could be making fun.
Because she's Indian.
She could be making fun of the other idiots and be like, it could be like that white first world problems, like an Arab won
Hey,
and the Seattle's are winning.
this may be the best one yet.
Okay,
By Jessica Ayers
let's do this.
at J Ayers 15.
Okay.
I swear I'm not a racist, but this is America. That's it. That's all it says.
You know the best part of all these is you look at the pictures that are attached to them, and they're like white people.
Yeah,
They're all white people.
yeah, absolutely they are.
Well, okay, I was talking to Lee about this like yesterday, I believe. The Republican Party, for us, in the last election, Mitt Romney got more of the white vote than Reagan did. And that's like a ridiculous amount. Like, Reagan rallied the whites to get them to vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
Romney got even more. He went to even more white churches and got more white people to come out. And I'm going to use Fox News as his little pool. Like, I don't think Romney was associated with this, but the whole Obama's not American. He's a terrorist. and he's going to he's going to kill us all. And he got all these scared old white people to get out of their churches and go vote for Romney.
Mm-hmm.
After the election, if you remember right, there was like a 6-month period where the Republicans were like, hey, we need to really review our political strategy if we want to ever get in the White House again. Well, if you look at that, that's sort of gone downhill because now they're like, no, our plan wasn't wrong. We just need more white people to vote for us.
Yeah, that's why they're trying to screw people with the voting laws.
That's also...
gerrymandering.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, like, what's going on right now, I don't know if it's being all that covered on news because I don't watch TV. The federal government is about to close down, again, be sequestered to zero. I know I work with a couple of my coworkers, and they are pretty staunch Republicans. I respect them for their intellectual, and I have one that I have intellectual conversations with all the time. And I'm like, well, how do you feel about the government? Like the Republicans saying, hey, if you don't start on our side of the bargaining table, we're not even going to bargain at all.
Mm-hmm.
And they will literally shut down the federal government.
It's disgusting.
And it's over, we should defund Obamacare. And they're like, and I've asked both of these staunch Republicans, I'm like, how do you feel about the Republicans saying that they will shut down the federal government if the bargaining table doesn't start with defunding Obamacare. Both of their responses, the one surprised me because I respect him so much, was, I don't like Obamacare.
Well,
Now, me
okay.
being the guy I am, I'm like, well, that's a real thing. We're going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
He's like, well, do you think it would pass now? I'm like, probably not, but it got passed a few years ago. So let's deal with it now.
So
He's like, it's going to defund. I'm like,
no.
how do you feel that the Republicans will literally not even start negotiations until we start at their side? Which he's like, well, if that's what it takes to get rid of Obamacare.
Right. Well, it'll never pass the Senate, so they're wasting their time.
That is they're going it like so
41 times.
crazy, and I am just like, I don't get it, and how people can stand there and be like, I understand that, I'm for that,
Mm-hmm.
and like that is extremist as, like, they are one step away from bombing people pretty much, like how can you get more extreme than shutting down the government?
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous.
We got all the way here talking about Miss America.
Right. And I do have a few more tweets, just a few more, because this is where people are reaching. They're basically, these tweets are people that are expressing some faux outrage to try to stir up some shit about 9/11. This guy says, Luke Brasili, at Luke Brasili, Brasili. 9/11 was 4 days ago and she gets Miss America?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was...
Okay, dude.
Man, the ignorance level is really ridiculous. It's almost frustrating because, well, the internet is what it is, and you get a voice when you wouldn't normally be heard.
And unfortunately, there are a lot of idiots in the world.
Yeah.
Vocal minority.
But I just hate to see this. That's the thing. I just hate to, because this woman is an American, regardless of descent. She is, like, her parents, regardless of their heritage, she's an American. She was born and raised in America. She's an American citizen. You don't have to be white to be an American. I'm sure they would have been fine with an African American.
Oh yeah, I thought about that too.
Because that's been burned into their brains so much now that they realize they have to tolerate that. But getting them mixed up with Arabs and calling them... 9/11 had nothing to do with India, by the way, right?
Nothing.
So, and I'm pretty sure the Hindu religion is the prominent religion in India. Now, I'm sure there are a few Muslims in there, and most of those are actually in Pakistan. That's why they separated.
You gotta watch out for those Indians. They are not monotheistic.
Yeah. They've got a lot of guys that can
They
fuck
believe
you
in
up.
a lot of gods.
The only thing I have ever had to worry about watching out for a Hindu was how spicy the food was. That's the only thing I've ever worried about.
But it's so
so good,
delicious.
yeah.
Oh.
It's-
Back to our regular scheduled program. Okay, that was just weird.
No.
I wonder if anybody can guess what that sound was. Maybe we'll have a contest, and if anybody can send me a reply and tell me what that sound was that just came out of James, you'll win a something. I don't know. I'm just going to leave that alone for now. So where are we?
$10 towards a gift card if we can get it. Somebody has to.
Are you looking for something, Paul?
I'm just kind of... there's a gold mine on YouTube.
A gold mine.
And if anybody listens to the Cognitive Dissonance
Ooh.
podcast, one that
This is the second. 2 shows in a row we've talked about cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, we're definitely influenced by those guys, I think. Lee actually introduced me to
Yes, I
Cognitive
did.
Dissonance. I was a big fan of the Thinking Atheist.
I am a big
Seth
fan too.
Andrews. And yeah, you've become a fan of his as well.
I just listened to his last show yesterday.
This guy is an ex...
I'm a big fan of God. I'm sorry. I just wanted to be like the crazy Republican there for a minute. That's like, Jesus, 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 take away the food stamps.
Right. I'm very proud of you.
What does that mean? These people are nuts. If anybody was a true believer in Jesus, they'd all be fucking socialist hippies.
Okay, I'm gonna just do like let's call this
Sorry.
right wing watch roulette.
Okay.
I'm just gonna pick a random right wing watch video here from this week or the last couple weeks. We'll listen to it and comment on it. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
Right wing watch roulette. That could become a segment.
Okay.
Dora wants to know, Pastor, everyone talks about signs of the end times. What are some of the signs, and should we be aware of them? Dora, pick up the newspaper. What Jesus said here on the Mount of Olives is taking place here each and every day. Let me give you some of these signs. In Matthew 24, 5 through 14, he said there would be wars and there would be rumors of wars. Right now, just in the past few weeks, Syria has been at war. They've killed over 100,000 of their own people. Do you know what was rumored over the last 2 weeks? That we, the United States, would get in that war. Russia then said, well, if you do that, we'll do this. And we had rumors of World War III right before our very eyes. That's a fulfillment of Matthew 24 that is being played out in your headlines every day. Here's one of the last signs that Jesus talked about in
It's like
Matthew
shooting
24.
fish in a
He said
barrel.
that there would be lawlessness. Yesterday,
Fuck.
an armed gunman, whether he be a disgruntled employee, whether he be mentally deranged, regardless of his motive, he lawlessly took guns into a workplace and lawlessly killed 12 co-workers.
We got to pause here.
Random note. Somebody performing a crime is not lawlessness. Lawlessness is Mel Gibson's post-apocalyptic world where they kill each other for gas. What's
Max.
Oh yeah,
Mad Max?
Yeah.
That's lawlessness. Me speeding is not lawlessness.
You're just breaking a law.
Yeah, that is not lawlessness, and that is just ridiculous. I couldn't stop myself. I would have forgot about that.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Should we hit play again?
Absolutely. There's only about 25 seconds left.
Okay.
And dozens of others. What you heard Jesus talk about and have the opportunity to read about in Matthew 24, you see take place in your headlines each and every day. What does this mean? It means that before you know it, Jesus Christ is coming again.
And the sad right wing watch music plays. Now that is that what's his last Hagee? Matthew Hagee is his name. I believe he's the son of some famous pastor with the name Hagee. Who knows? What do we make of that? To me, that seems like this guy is really taking things that have happened over and over since the beginning of civilization and calling it a sign of the times.
You know, I mean, I think that's... I think every time I hear somebody go into immediately using Jesus or the Jesus told me this, I apologize, James. I don't mean to offend you. If I do, I don't know that I do. But I'm getting really sick and tired of this is Jesus and he's going to come back and get you comments because of somebody running through a Navy yard with a gun or Damascus is going to fall.
Holy crap, here comes Jesus, and he doesn't look too happy.
But we've had a lot of people over the times who have said, well, it's going to end on this day. And these, Pat Robertsons and the Heaven's Gate people or whoever, it's like this is going to happen. And every time it doesn't happen.
Right, and yeah.
Random note. As where I earlier said I was come from a Pentecostal background, if I had to choose one. Half the Pentecostal churches I go to are what I refer to as brimstone and fire churches.
Oh, totally.
Love God, otherwise you're going to burn in hell. That is not why I love God. I love God because God has proved his unquestionable love towards me. And the people that are like, this right here, the type of stuff to recruit Christians like this is working because this is going to get those false-mouthed Christians. Those who serve God with their mouth, then turn around and stab you in the back.
Okay, question. Do you think this is recruiting Christians? Do you think this is recruiting Christians, or do you think that these people who are talking like this, do you think they have any sway whatsoever over the youth of America or possible youth of America who are Christians, or do you think that they're really just talking to an older generation?
Both, because when I went to, sorry, when I'm tired I stutter. Because when I was going to church, it was my grandmother taking me. Paul,
Yeah.
was it your was it a family thing? With
It
you
was a
when you
total family thing, yeah. My
So
mom,
you were going
yeah.
with your mom, your grandma, and all that type of stuff?
Oh, not both sets of grandparents, but early on it was, we went to the same church as my grandparents on my dad's side. And then we kind of switched it up to the grandparents on my mom's side. Like, I started out in a non-denominational church and ended up in a Baptist church.
So these pastors that are scaring these old ladies into keeping the word of God as faithful as they can and scaring them into doing the wrong things at many times are also scaring the children that if you don't do this, you're going to burn in hell. It's going to hurt for eternity. They're not teaching God's love message. That is Christianity done wrong. It's if you know God's love, that will. I have a feeling like my opinion is that's what makes me a Christian, is I feel like I know God's love.
But why Christian, though? I mean, there could be a God, but it doesn't have to be Christian. I think that may have to do with you being born in America. Like,
And it could be. I'm not going to deny that.
because there are people in Yemen that believe Allah and Allah is the same God, Yahweh,
Yeah,
basically. But
it's-
but they believe that Jesus. They don't believe Jesus Christ was the Son of God. They also don't believe that. I don't even think they believe he was crucified. The Muslims, but
They believe he was a high prophet that was
they
crucified.
do believe he was a prophet. I was pretty sure they didn't think that he was actually crucified. But
Like they can prove
Look,
that there was Jesus that was crucified.
But my point, it doesn't matter. My point is that they believe with just as much fervor as you that their religion, that their way of thought, or we can say in India, the Hindus that live in India will have the exact same fervor for theirs. And they're just as sure as you are. How do you explain that? How do you know that yours is right? You're just so fortunate to be born in that part of the world that had the right existential answers.
As with the Muslim and Jewish faith, I feel we all worship the same God. As with the polytheistic and all those ones, I hate to use this as a reference to my spirituality, but Narnia, Aslan, the Jesus lion, versus the bad demon guy. There on the bad demon guy side, there was people that were doing bad things, well, good things in the name of their demon god. On the good side of Narnia, there's people doing bad things in the name of their Jesus lion. Aslan sort of said, even though they do good things in his name, they're really done in my name. And I've taken, and they say they do good things or bad things in my name. They're not doing them in my name.
I'm sorry. I had to stop that because that's claiming all goodness. That
Comes
just
from a god. Does that what's so crazy about that?
What's so crazy about that we as a social species have developed certain norms. Well, to me, morality is a mechanism that we have developed as a species in order to propagate that species. We've learned as a social species we can't do this because if we keep doing this, we're not going to succeed. We're not going to get off the ground, and we're learning these things through trial and error, and that's why you constantly see morality change. You constantly see things shift, and even the church is forced to shift with the evolving morality of humanity. Is that not true?
For the propagating thing, that I don't agree with. Sex is a lot of fun. and we would propagate no matter what. Even if it was sex.
That's absolutely true, buddy.
It's to prosper into these cultural societies. Is religion used as a tool to opiate the masses? Yes, it has been. But there are things that I feel, and this is my thing. I can't be 100% sure.
Right.
There's no way, but I am.
And neither
faithful.
can I.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I don't try to knock you for your faith or lack of faith or whatever you want to call it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I still call it a faith. It's still a dogma to me.
it's not set. That's for sure.
Neither is mine.
We go with what we know that is true. Basically, we
Yeah.
go with what is observable. And I'm sorry, that's logical.
If you can, I feel, and this is something that I'm a big fan of. If I can't question my faith, I've learned some of my religious lessons from an imam. In fact, one of my life lessons was from an imam at a mosque in Muncie when I was going to Ball State.
Mm-hmm.
I went to there. Keep in mind, this is literally like 3-4 years after 9/11. Muslim hatred is at a peak in America. If you're brown, you're a Muslim and you're a terrorist. I had family that was Christians that were part Kuwaiti, and because they got, and keep in mind, this is the American dream family. The daughter's a teacher, the mom was a teacher, both boys have served in the armed forces, protecting our country. They got crap for being brown.
Of course they did.
Yeah. Well, I go.
As Cenk Uygur would say, of course. You guys are familiar with the Young Turks? No. Okay.
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about.
Of course.
I go to this mosque in Muncie, this nice little place, and I'm asking questions about why are the women and men segregated. They're giving me answers. But the Muslim is the imam's there. He's like, I was asked, how am I doing today? He's like, I'm a Muslim. I can't help but be happy. I'm alive with the glory of God.
Mm-hmm.
I every day on here is another blessing to be, and that's how I try to live my life.
Right.
Big,
And for me, I'm just happy that we're fortunate enough to have come to be in the state that we are, and on this planet, we're just so fortunate to have all of this. And when I look at all of the beauty of nature, and I see when I'm on my telescope, man, when I get my telescope out and I point it at something and I zero in, like say I find a Messier object. I found like this beautiful globular cluster not too long ago. For me, that's just a form of meditation. It's just like you realize how insignificant we really are. Like it's the most humbling experience in the world, astronomy for me. Like this is just for me. That is my meditation. Like some people like to pray. My prayer is getting outside with that telescope and just being alone with my thoughts. And I'm so at peace when I'm doing that.
I do the same thing that you do, just I thank God for it. And I'm not saying that you're right, and I'm not saying that I'm right.
I don't think
I'm
that's
just saying-
harmful in that sense, James. It's again, we aren't battling people who are just genuinely looking. And I do believe that you genuinely believe in a God. Am I right here, Lee? Or we're not attacking the people that are using this for comfort, I guess, but more like the people that are using it to keep others down.
Well, that's the whole negative part on religion itself in the first place, and why there are borders probably, and why. I mean, it was to me the whole. I said it in the last show, and I'll probably say it a million times more. Religion was a device used to control the masses by those who were in power to stay in power.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 100% true. That cannot be denied by any man, religious or not. It's the church, and I'll say the Catholic Church because they did it for so long. They did it so well that we didn't even think about it. I mean, look at all the crusades they had a children's crusade where they sent children to fight the Muslims for the Holy Land.
I believe it.
Where are we?
Now, I've got if you're ready for a new topic, I've got one.
Oh, if you guys plan on having me in the future, which I would love to do,
Oh,
don't
we
plan
can
on
have you
being
back.
on subject. That doesn't
Don't
happen.
plan on staying on subject.
No,
is
that
what you
doesn't
said?
happen. It's you guys both know
Well,
that.
are you asking what story we started with?
What were we on? And are we? Oh, we were talking about the guy with Jesus and
Yeah, the guy that was
Brimstone
basically
it was the
basically taking.
raw story.
Yes, it was a
Right Wing Watch.
We did right wing watch roulette,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
which I think should be a new
I like
segment.
that. This is a fun thing. I like right wing watch
from-
roulette.
From me mentioning Mad Max, I have the big guy in my head with a mask that goes up to that town. He's like, "Just walk away.
Are going to be persecuted.
Just walk away. We want nothing but the gas. You can walk away with your lives." Like,
Just walk away. Yes. Now I have. Now let's lighten the mood a little bit here.
Lighten the mood.
Lighten the mood.
Okay.
I think that this is just awesome, and it was in the past couple of weeks a news item that put me in a spectacular mood, and I think it did you too, Lee. I'm going to go ahead and play it, and I'm going to surprise
I wonder
everyone.
what it is. What is it?
Here we go. Oh, no, it's going to play an advertisement.
Uh-oh.
Well, I'm going to mute that, and we'll just kind of talk while this advertisement kind of finishes up. But, yeah, this particular news item really made me happy, and it just really kind of shines a light on, man, what human beings can do. And
I like these stories.
what we can accomplish, and it's just amazing. And here we go. I think it's about time.
35 years ago, on September 5th, 1977, Voyager 1 launched from Florida's Cape Canaveral, 16 days after its twin, Voyager 2, to begin the pair's planned journey of exploration to Jupiter and Saturn. Their mission, eventually extended to the outer planets and beyond, continues today. Both are providing data about the heliosheath, the outermost region of our solar system, as they make their way deeper into space. Should either spacecraft be found by intelligent life, each has an audio-visual disc called a golden record on board, containing common imagery and sounds from Earth, including various life forms. Sounds of a baby crying. And
Creepy.
music by Mozart and Chuck Berry.
Yeah, Voyager 1 actually passed out of our solar system and into interstellar space.
This is the first object man-made that has done this.
That has left our solar system. How fucking amazing is that?
It was awesome.
It's not just that it's that. Like, we are smart enough to use other planets' gravity to not slow this down, but speed up this object to where it's traveling ridiculous.
We're using, it's like a slingshot
Yeah,
effect.
it's
beautiful.
It is amazing. It really, really is. It's a work of art.
It is.
Just out of the whole what was it, Venus landing? Like a work of art. It's science as art. It's everything was just like little itty bitty steps that had to be 100% perfect.
Venus, are you talking about the Mars landing?
Yes, sorry.
The Curiosity rover on Mars. Yeah, there actually has been, Russians actually did land on Venus, and it lasted for, it's so hot, but it did last for a brief time, and they got a couple of pictures.
Right.
But, so he's not entirely wrong. We as a species have landed on Venus with something. But that's when I feel like when something like that happens, it's no longer about a country. It's no longer about nationalism. It's about human beings have achieved this. It may have happened in one kind of localized area on the planet, but this is a human achievement. It's
Right.
not just an American achievement.
Well, all those achievements were based upon German physicists before that, and before that,
Absolutely, yes.
Like everything goes back all even to the Greek space of math and stuff.
Arabic. It goes back to
the
Arabic.
foundation of zero.
Yeah, the Arabs, they created algebra. I mean, there was a time when the Muslims were the most enlightened
Yes.
of all people on the planet, and unfortunately, they're in a dark age now.
That was those were the crossroads, basically. I mean, it
Yeah.
was the most diverse area in the Arabian Peninsula, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah.
And
And during that time is when the Christians were in their dark age in Europe, and they were stifling science.
And this, if forgive me if I'm wrong, but is this really? This is kind of before Islam took hold, or was it after? Was
No,
this
it
happening
was-
during
it was,
Islam?
It was well. I mean, Islam was totally prominent in that
Okay.
look in the Middle East. I mean, but at that time they were definitely not afraid of scientific inquiry. They were not afraid to question things. And that's why they kind of were the leaders in new discovery.
Lots of information being exchanged, and
Yeah.
we can't forget about the fact that what the percentage of stars at one point were almost all Arabic names.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They had a solar calendar of the planet of the moon of all like the moon and the Earth and everything rotating around whatever they thought it was. I'm not sure. That was 1,000-year-old, full of gears and stuff, and it was found in a excavation. It still worked.
That's awesome.
I I have to look that one up. I don't know that I've heard that one before. But anyway,
Okay, well,
we left the solar system.
yeah, that's just incredible, and I can't wait. And Voyager 2, I think, or not Voyager 2, Voyager 1, I think they expect that it will run, that it will be operational for another, like, at least a couple of years. I can't remember. Maybe it was like 5, but it's detecting its surroundings and it's sending back information to us. We're going to be getting information about the environment outside of our solar system. Like, to me, that's just incredible. It's the first step towards actually, if we can make something that can leave the solar system, I think eventually we're going to be able to make something that can contain human beings that can leave the solar system. And
One of my favorite Carl Sagan quotes was, "If we do not destroy ourselves, we will one day venture to the stars." And I think that the only hurdle is ourselves.
yeah, Carl Sagan's amazing. He's one of my favorites. He's a huge inspiration.
I figure you guys would love him. I believe he is a humanist or atheist.
He called himself an agnostic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is actually the most, probably, a lot of people would argue that agnosticism is the most logical of positions. It is the default position, I would say, agnosticism.
I mean, I think my route to where I am today was a time period of agnosticism. So it was finally, I remember having a few Christians telling me that I was being a pussy by not deciding whether there was or wasn't one. I was a fence sitter.
No, that's called being contemplative. That's called not being presuppositional. That's called weighing the evidence before you declare something as truth. And that's what any thinking person should do. Now, and I'm not saying if you've come to the conclusion that, yes, I believe Jesus is the Son of God, blah, 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 you haven't weighed the options, but you should have at least given it some thought before you came to that conclusion.
And I agree with that. If you cannot question your faith and come up with the right, that you feel like that's what's good for you, that's what's right for you, because I don't think it's about being right or wrong. I think it's about being right or wrong for that individual person.
Yeah.
Be it they have to have that, like, be the center of their life. Are they okay just being like, yeah, God's out there, he's whatever, or being like, God does not exist. If you can't come to that same answer after doing serious thinking and criticizing and critiques and having long conversations with friends with opposite opinions, you are not a true follower of that faith or lack of faith.
Right. And you know, and Lee, I think you'll agree with this. The main reason that we do this is because we are in a minority. And right now, there are actual studies that are saying that atheists are the least trusted group of people in the United States, even above Muslims who white right-wing Christians absolutely just cannot stand. We are still the least trusted demographic in the United States. That's why we need to do some things like this to show that, hey, we're good people. We're not just going out there like, you know, the whole thing like, well, if there's no God, then who's to say that everybody just doesn't go out and rape and kill and murder at their leisure?
I'm not raping and killing at my leisure.
Nor am I.
I rape and kill at my leisure.
Damn Christians.
Ah, bastard.
Just my leisure is not very often, so I don't get caught.
Man, even a Voyager 1 story can lead to this. Listen to us. Do we have time for another story, Mike?
We're actually at an hour and 14 minutes, but we can keep going. I mean, the Thinking Atheist does go to an hour and a half
Yeah,
occasionally.
Seth, if you ever listen to this at some point, we're using you as a gauge for how long we can go.
You should like hashtag them or something.
It is really amazing
Okay.
how long we can go sometimes. Of course, whether we're organized or not is one story.
Let's go with this one. I think this one is actually something that would, with us having somebody who is a Christian here, would be able to weigh in on this subject. This is from the Raw story. Not trying to copy your format here, Cognitive Dissonance, but they're gold. The title of this story is Conservative Talker Attacks Atheist Over Christian Cross at New Jersey 9/11 Memorial. I'll just go ahead and read a little bit of this story.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay. American atheists challenged the design of the memorial on the grounds that it is being constructed with public tax money on public land, endorsement of Christianity by the Princeton city government, said Moscato, violates the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. We have an issue with that, Moscato told Raw Story in an interview. It's unconstitutional on the grounds that you can't display a religious symbol by itself on public land using public funds. American atheists contacted the Princeton city government, including Fire Chief Roy James, who conceived and designed the monument. The letter to the mayor and city council called the Christian monument offensive to the non-Christian people who died that day in 2001 and announced that American atheists will sue the city government if the monument goes forward as currently planned. The angry response was immediate. I'm going to go ahead and read his response, and then we can kind of stop there and talk about it. We got a death threat, Moscato said cheerfully, and about 50 pieces of hate mail the day that the story broke. But the fact is that we would be saying exactly the same thing regardless of whether it was a Star of David or a crescent symbol of Islam. We would be doing exactly the same thing if this was not a 9/11 memorial. The issue is that it's unconstitutional. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it's from 9/11. What do we think, guys?
Death threats equal doing Christianity wrong.
The Christians who gave the... Yeah, obviously. Those people are crazy.
Okay, but
what
go-
are your
go away
feelings
from
about
there.
the cross on the memorial as a Christian?
As a Christian,
Publicly funded.
I am a very, very paranoid Christian. It's just as I don't believe the Bible, I don't trust the government, I don't trust large corporations. I believe they want nothing but my money and me to be able to press buttons, and they don't want me smart enough. I believe we should probably have a revolution with the whole NSA watching me wherever I go, watching whatever website I go to.
Way off topic.
I have to settle this down. You have to know where I'm coming from, otherwise I just sound like a kook. And I am a bit of a kook. But government funded, it should be like probably not have any religious symbol on it.
Thank you.
I agree with that, absolutely. And if you're going to have one, you've got to have them all.
Well, and you can't have them all.
Right,
because
that's why there should be none.
the day, what are we going to go through? Let's send a email out to the victim's spouse. Half of them probably aren't over it because that's ridiculous. That's losing your spouse. That blah blah blah. Especially when it's such a like crazy thing. It's hey, what religion was your spouse? And what do we put the flying spaghetti monster on that too?
Yeah. You have to, man.
It's random note. I am actually like, if you believe in the flying spaghetti monster and that's your faith, I can deal with that. But if people that made up the flying spaghetti monster just be like, oh, we have our own deity too, and they're just being jackass, that's sort of asinine and offensive.
The flying spaghetti monster is basically a knock on believing in some sort of a deity, yes.
Totally. Completely.
It is just kind of that.
It's a sarcastic reply, if you want to call it that, but
It should, but the flying spaghetti monster does have just as much evidence as the God of the Bible.
I think that's
See,
what the whole point was.
The evidence I don't care about. It's the faith that I care about.
Yeah.
The whole point of it is to show that, I mean, it's, what do I want to say? I mean, you have something that was made up, and it has rules and things that you're supposed to follow. I mean, it's a complete mirrored image of any other religion.
Mirrored in a sarcastic tone.
Because it's trying to give a point.
It's satire, and then having a church of the writing a letter of satire like the how to cure the hunger problem in Ireland by eating the children and stuff. That's satire. That was a written essay. It wasn't an entire religion based on like that. That's taking the point and running it to the end of the hill, going way too far with it, I feel.
Why are beliefs any more immune to?
Snake.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. Yeah, my text message tone is actually from Metal Gear Solid, and you are only the second person who has picked that up.
Okay.
But anyway, where was I?
Well, we were technically talking about government property and whether or not there should be religious icons and whatnot.
Then I got us off topic with this flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
This is where people get frustrated with atheists. They're like, why are you taking our God away from us? These are our basic rights in our country, blah, blah, blah. This country was founded on Christian beliefs, blah, 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 blah.
well, it wasn't. But.
It's like, I think I get most frustrated with Fox News because they're the ones who go after this over anybody. And it's just, you know what? I really don't give a shit about what you think this country was founded on. There is a separation of church and state.
It's there.
Freedom of religion. You're allowed to believe whatever you want. But this whole notion that you're freaking out because us dirty atheists are taking away your religious freedom by saying, no, you can't place something religious on government property. There's a reason for that. I don't give a shit whether or not you believe what you want to believe on your own, in your own space, whatnot, on your own privately owned area.
But we don't have to be subject to it.
It's government property, and it needs to be completely free of anything religious, period.
Federally, I will agree with that. Local governments, I believe, should have their own choice in that matter.
Well, what's the good of the federal law then?
The federal law is for federal land and stuff. Your local governments, your local judges should be picked and chosen by people that they represent.
Yeah.
Be you atheist or in the middle of a Bible-thumping Texas state,
Yeah.
try to find somebody that represents you and promote them by doing their stuff.
The Constitution applies to every American citizen. And I'm sorry, the Establishment Clause applies also to local and state governments. That's just how it is. That's the law. They lose every case. They lose almost every single time they lose when in these situations because
just because they lose doesn't mean I can't disagree with it. And
you can disagree with it, but it's the law.
It's also the law not to do weed, but how many states have weed?
Yeah, and I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I disagree with weed being illegal.
I think everything should be legal and taxed, and you make
Because I like to
shit ton of
smoke
money.
it.
Okay, but weed is not in the Constitution.
No, it's not, but I see what you're saying, but
When you have a group of people who are constantly saying you're totally running all over the Constitution, you're destroying everything the Constitution says, but then you go on about how this is a Christian nation, blah blah blah, and this is how it should be. No other religions are accepted, blah blah blah. That's where it gets really frustrating to me, and that's why there is separation of church and state.
is everyone that lives in a local in a small community a Christian though? Like why should
No.
local that's why local government should not have the power to do that.
The local government having the 10 Commandments and on a corner on the courthouse of the local courthouse does not take away from your religion.
Yeah.
It just vocalizes the majority of those around you.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with that? Because they have their freedom of religion.
But the Establishment Clause protects those people that aren't part of that majority from having on publicly funded land to have to be subjected to something that is not part of their lifestyle. I mean, look, I live in a tiny little, you can't even consider it a town. Would you feel, you would think that this little town of mine, probably in Indiana, in central Indiana, everybody here, you're going to think, oh, it's probably just a bunch of white Christians in this area. Well, right in this little house, we've got an atheist. And if, say, over at my post office, they put up a big cross, I'm like, well, that doesn't represent me in my town. Even if it represents every single other citizen of this town, I can still fight that because we have the Establishment Clause. That's the law. That's just what it is.
Just because you're different doesn't make you special.
Not saying
No, it doesn't make me special.
But having, like, you being part of you being the minority doesn't mean that your voice is as loud as the majority. It doesn't mean that everybody can be represented. Sorry, that's not possible.
It should be equally heard, though.
With the elections and stuff, it's supposed to be.
So
is it perfect? No, but it's to have a local majority on their local land put up what they believe, be it Muslim, Christian, Jewish, because there are very many Jewish towns in America. I guarantee there's Muslim towns in America.
Yeah.
And they should have the same choice
Probably.
and right.
But is it lawful for even the smallest of towns that are at least big enough to have a courthouse to place a Ten Commandments monument in front of their courthouse. Is that lawful?
I don't think it should be illegal.
It is, though.
It's-
That's why they get taken down when someone actually takes them to court, because it violates the Establishment Clause.
I'm not saying that it's legal or illegal, or I just think that they should have that right.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. I don't think they have that right,
And that's totally fine.
but I
see,
still
now,
love you, and I
if
still
it's-
want to
if-
get in your pants.
If it's one judge that's like, I am a Muslim activist, or let's go with something. I'll make up I am a Jamesian activist, and our religious symbol is a man holding a shovel getting ready to dig into the earth, because that's how James started the earth.
Yeah.
So he dug up, and he goes out of his way to put that there.
Okay.
I disagree with that. But if it is voted on by the local community and that type of stuff, and the local people that represent them, I that's where I come. I think that should be allowed.
But who does the government represent? Does it represent all of the citizens, or does it just represent the Christian citizens? They may be the majority, but that's why when we're on public grounds, like say a courthouse, that's where process of government is taking place. They should not be putting out this symbol of one particular religion, basically endorsing that religion. They're not representing all of the people in that situation. They're representing one demographic, and they're basically telling the others, this is what we believe, and I don't care what you believe.
See, the having a cross on the thing doesn't endorse. It is the voice of the majority. If you like I said, if I do that, and you can't, you guys believe you're in the minority.
we don't just believe it, we are.
Well, then what's the majority?
Christians.
Well, then how can, I'm getting Lee shaking his head when I say that's the voice of the majority.
It is the voice of the majority. That's why we have the Constitution.
There's a separation of church and state. If you want to believe in if you want your imagery, your crosses, your whatever it is that goes with your religion, you have that at your church. You have that at your place of worship, at your private area.
Why does it have to be in the public realm?
When it comes to a public government area, it should be completely separate of anything religious.
Not everybody is separate of religious, and that has affected our government as well.
What do you mean?
Like I know that Fox says that we're blah 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 based on Christian values. Half the people were like atheists, half were devout Christians, half were Muslims. I don't know, but I know there was a little bit of everything on that. And they sealed the documents to protect them on how they believed it for 50 years or something, but let it out. Whatever. It's when you have a good portion of your local community that believes in a certain way, why should that not be voiced?
It can be, but it can be, like I said, it can be voiced in your private area. When it comes, that's what I mean. That's the whole.
Why do lawmakers need to put a religious stamp on anything? Why would they even need to do that? Why would that be appropriate in any situation?
Going back to the religion as an opiate for the masses, morality, I believe, comes from the religion and you don't steal, because if you're going to steal, would you steal from each other? Would we steal from each other that are poor little peasants? No, we would go to the big farm owner's land and steal from him, because he's not going to miss 3 watermelons and 5 heads of lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
But if I stole 5 watermelons from my other peasant over here to feed my family, they're going to know, because that's going to be half their watermelons. And I think that's sort of the part where morality comes in, from where you don't cheat, don't steal, you don't kill, blah, 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 blah. That a lot of this stuff was put in there to protect those who had stuff. And morality sort of came off the religion on a lot of development. Does that make sense? Religion told you don't do this, this is bad.
Yes.
That got ingrained into society. Even though before religion, a lot of people knew that stuff was bad.
Well, the societal laws are pretty well universal. Christianity or any other religion doesn't have the corner on those things. Those are universal. The thing that religions exclusively have rights to, as far as morality, is these dogmatic little extra things that aren't really, like, we all know that we shouldn't murder. Basically, things that harm other people we shouldn't do. We know that. That's common sense. We're getting into the shit like homosexuality, divorce, all this kind of these things. That's when religion is. Yeah.
See, when you say not harming each other is common sense, I believe that is completely inaccurate. Because common sense would tell me that, hey, you have something that I like. I am much, much bigger than you. I'm going to kill you and I'm going to take it.
We've moved beyond that, though. We've evolved beyond that. We're in 2013. That may have been the case back in 4000 BC or whatever, but we're not there anymore.
You say that, and I see so many people that are still there every day that try to.
Yeah, there
I
are
work
still
in a,
plenty of fucking idiots in the world, but
Yeah.
as a collective species, we've moved past that.
I still disagree with that. I've seen so many people try to use and abuse that way they get what they want when they want. And it's not because
Well, yeah, it's still a problem. It's still a problem. But I'm saying we don't go to. We know that we're not supposed to go to that anymore.
yeah, we know that. That doesn't keep us. But I think the common sense instilled. And let me define common sense: instilled into you as instinct.
I think instinct and common sense can be two different things, though, because after you've learned a certain kind of practice or trait over so much time, it becomes common sense. And when you realize, oh, this is the best way of doing this, after so long, it's no longer. It's just common sense.
I grew up in a lot of bad neighborhoods, and I had a lot of people that the best way to get what they want was to threaten and intimidate.
Uh-huh.
And so over time, that becomes their common sense. Hey, you have a car that I like?
That's true. That's a good point.
I grew up in like not like bad ghettos, but like I live in a ghetto right now. Like enough that if I don't have my dog out with me late at night, I don't really want to walk outside.
That's unfortunate. I mean,
And there's a lot of people that lives in those neighborhoods, and I work in that pharmacy that's just down the block from the ghetto, and I have those people that, because they are bigger than the little petite girls that I work with, they'll try to intimidate there. Then, hey, here's this big guy. Oh, he can hurt me because I don't know if it was stated. I am extremely large.
what is your height by that? 6'6"?
I am just under 6'8",
Just okay.
and I
wow.
weigh just under 400 pounds. I know I don't look like it.
No, you don't.
It's I worked out
You look
a
like
lot.
a sexy animal beast that I'd like to.
I'm chubby. I think I wear it well. But those same guys that threaten these petite 19-year-old blonde little white girl that I work with, when I step over, I'm like, hey, you're not going to talk to her that way. Realize that their common sense says, hey, this guy's bigger than me. He's going to hurt me. I'm going to start being nice now. And I see that. And it could be that I'm jaded, that I work in a pharmacy that's in the ghetto, and I have people that are coming in there trying to get their Vicodin 3 weeks early. I'm like, no, I'm not going to sell it to you. And they think they're going to try to threaten and abuse me. I'm like, you're not going to talk to me that way. I will never ever mention where I did this at one of my old jobs anyway, so it doesn't matter. I once had I worked at an office supply store. I had a big, large black man threaten me, and I told him, just so you know, I would much rather have my pride than my job. I didn't threaten him, but I totally threatened him.
Right.
And there's lots of people that's their common sense.
I don't know how we got to common sense and whatnot over whether or not there should be a religious icon on on government property, but we kind of did.
We did.
On that note, we are at 1 hour and 34 minutes.
We should probably stop.
We should probably stop.
But I do have something awesome that we can play out on.
Okay.
It's a classic
Okay.
by one of our good friends, Richard Dawkins.
Okay.
We can say our goodbyes and we'll play out on this.
Say our goodbyes and play out on Richard Dawkins.
Yeah.
Well, I still love you, James.
Absolutely.
Paul and Lee, you guys are some of my favorite people. I love you, and I hope I don't offend you by saying that God loves you.
It doesn't offend me. That's fine, James. Does it offend you, Lee?
It pisses me right off. No, I'm kidding.
All right. Well, and hey, James, maybe after we go ahead and play this on with our last little audio clip here, we can discuss this afterward. I think you might have something to say.
We can always do the Bill Maher after
Overtime.
overtime. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well,
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We love you. Being Humanists, out.
This is probably going to be the most simplest one for you to answer, but what if you're wrong?
Well, what if I'm wrong? I mean, anybody could be wrong. We could all be wrong about the flying spaghetti monster and the pink unicorn and the flying teapot. You happen to have been brought up, I would presume, in the Christian faith. You know what it's like not to believe in a particular faith because you're not a Muslim, you're not a Hindu. Why aren't you a Hindu? Because you happen to have been brought up in America, not in India. If you'd been brought up in India, you'd be a Hindu. If you were brought up in Denmark in the time of the Vikings, you'd be believing in Wotan and Thor. If you were brought up in classical Greece, you'd be believing in Zeus. If you were brought up in Central Africa, you'd be believing in the great Juju up the mountain. There's no particular reason to pick on the Judeo-Christian God in which, by the sheerest accident, you happen to have been brought up and ask me the question, what if I'm wrong? What if you're wrong about the great Juju at the bottom of the sea?